and that's where they were able to locate him.
We all know that things are a little different this year. This year, following a year of increased hate incidents and violence against members of the AAPI community, especially our elderly, we have been reminded of our painful history, a history characterized by scapegoating, exclusion, and sometimes discrimination. From the Chinese Exclusion Act to the forced imprisonment of Japanese Americans during World War II, to now, the AAPI community knows very well what it's like to be blamed for problems for which they are not the cause. And today, the AAPI community is once again the scapegoat, but this time for the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and everything that ensued. It has been a difficult year leading up to today, but I've also witnessed incredible strength and unity, which gives me hope. I've seen the Asian community come together like I've never seen in my life, in my 50 years here in the city of Los Angeles. And this is just the beginning of our community's move toward greater unity and empowerment. As we continue to work together to confront and combat hate, the first place we need to start is with reporting of hate crimes. We all know that, because of cultural reasons or language barriers, sometimes Asian communities haven't been, quick to report incidents against themselves. And I know this is something that my office, leaders throughout the community, and also LAPD are encouraging our residents to do. I'm so grateful to the men and women of the LAPD. Because they've been a critical partner to the AAPI community during these very difficult times and are always ready to serve our communities. Today we have a police department that reflects the diversity of our city, and that is important because it helps to build our trust in our communities and among the public that they serve. And that diversity is not just within our rank and file, as you see behind me, but also in the command staff as well. In LAPD, we have men and women who understand the importance of bringing awareness to our preconceived notions of unconscious biases, and we have leaders who prioritize implicit bias training and community policing. We have, most importantly, a department that is committed to the continuous improvement of their own department. But the job of combating hate is not and should not be just the responsibility of law enforcement. We each have a role to play to fight the hate which stems from fear and ignorance, and we need to do that through education and action. I want to thank again Chief Moore and members of LAPD for their dedication to the safety of every member of every community. And to our residents, I hope that we recognize that we can't afford to take a back seat to the ugliness we have seen in recent months or even the whole entire past year. I hope we will all find the courage to speak up in the face of intolerance and hate, because inaction and silence makes us complicit to the hate that we witness. Thank you again, Chief Moore, for having me
here today. Councilmember Lee, thank you for being here today and for your leadership on the council on this issue and so many others. The Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, which started on May 1st and goes this entire month. So proud to be a member of this department that participated in an event just to the north of here at the El Pueblo Center this Sunday, where Jessica Caloza, the Public Works Commissioner, Jessica, thank you for being here, led a citywide initiative. Thank you. Led city government effort of a day of service for the Chinese American community for Chinatown. And on that event, we had hundreds of individuals who walked the streets that made outreach and engagement with a merchant community, with a resident community, with a tourist community. And what we found was many individuals that were intimidated, that were fearful, they were worried about their safety. And to see a police officer in soft clothes picking up trash and debris and helping and giving back to that community was a small gesture for us to build a relationship, to deepen a relationship that I'm proud of that LAPD has throughout the city, but in this instance, in this time, in this crisis, that we're digging in and investing even further. So that effort was just one small part of our efforts this month to recognize the history of the Asian Pacific American communities and also to move forward in this time of trouble and uncertainty and people's sense of safety. Months ago, where we saw the increase in hate instances and reported hate crimes for the AAPI communities, we as a department look to that sixth core value. What is our efforts to continually improve upon our work? Because while we've been deeply invested in the AAPI community for decades, including the diversity of our organization, investing in it richly, and our ongoing efforts to continue to build in our representation of AAPI and are both our sworn as well as our civilian professional class, we recognize that at this moment in time, we weren't doing enough. That's where I want to recognize and call out the Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, also known as A3PCON, and their Manjuja Kulkarni, and the Asian American Advancing Justice for LA with Ms. Connie Chung-Jo and Anthony Rio, as well as with Paula Madison, former police commissioner for Los Angeles Police Department, joining us in the first and deepen it. And we have a community that does not quite understand and is lacking a clear path that when instances of hate occur, how do they know that that is an incident of hate? And then when it's a hate crime, how are we going to investigate it and what actions will we take to protect them? And the idea came to us from these community advocates was to design a resource card. And today you'll have that resource card. You'll see examples of it to my left and to the right, and it's in 7 different languages. And it's meant to demonstrate as a point of reference for our AAPI community, what are the resources in the sense of reporting a crime, reporting a hate incident, what are legal services and victim advocacies and points of contact for those points, as well as health and mental health resources. So in a very short and easy to carry reference card and something that can move throughout the AAPI community, we can give people a quick sense of references. On the bottom of it is a QR code that you can use your phone and have that expand and have a much more an electronic version, if you will. Now this resource card, to many will say, well, what's the issue with that? Well, 7 languages with the nuances across those was really us depending on not just our men and women within this organization, and I'm going to recognize that in a moment, but was the power of the AAPI community to step forward and say, as we move this in a Chinese language, or as we move this in a Korean language, or in a Thai language, or in the Vietnamese language, here's what the nuances of this card should be to demonstrate its cultural sensitivity to the nuances within the various communities here in Los Angeles. I want to particularly call out Assistant Chief Beatrice Gomala and Deputy Chief Blake Chow, Deputy Chief Dominic Choi, Captain John Tom, Ms. Elena Askunin, Sergeant Alex Bustes, and Officer Eric Gonzalez. These individuals actually each played a role in helping define these cards. Now what we also did in developing of these cards is recognize that this card or this QR code is just one means of communication. Another means of communications is what people watch on radio, television, and what they see in the newspapers. And there's various channels in the AAPI communities and the various languages. So the other officers that are here, we have a richness of culture, have gone into and worked with those media outlets to develop public service announcements that talk about instances of hate, instances of crimes of hate, and what the investigative response and what the support is from the department. And those PSA arrangements are out there now and are being viewed by tens of thousands of members of the AAPI community. In summary, these efforts are ongoing, as are our footbeats, as are our outreach and engagement. The means of they may seem small, but they're incremental in making a difference in this time and challenging ourselves to build confidence in the AAPI communities that the Los Angeles Police Department cares, that we stand united against hate, and that we will take every aggressive action to hold those accountable who engage in those acts. So thank you for this opportunity to be here today. I want to appreciate all the media members that are here and bringing further attention to this. And at this point, I'm going to introduce Deputy Chief Blake Chow.
Thank you, Chief, Councilmember Lee, Ms. Madison, Commissioner Caloza. I'm Blake Chow. I'm the Commanding Officer of Transit Services Bureau, And you really were gathered here in this early May to do two things. Number one is to celebrate AAPI month and really to celebrate and appreciate the partnership that we have